Hello, wonderful universe. It's Jennifer here at Eureka Astrology and Healing, and today we're going to be talking about the Pisces new moon. The moon's going to be new on March 2nd, 2022, and this is a big story. I feel like it's really going to be a closing chapter to a larger story, and I think this is going to be very powerful and transformative for us all. And so where does this story begin? And this is for me, I used a lot of intuition on this. I am looking at aspects, but I just had this feeling, kind of a download, as some would say, of what's going on here with the new moon. And so, first of all, I thought about the lockdown all these years ago, because what's happening on this new moon is there's also a conjunction, and I've been talking about it in my videos, of it's going to be Pluto, and then Mars is going to conjunct Pluto, and Venus is going to conjunct them as well. They're going to be together in Capricorn. And something told me to look back at what happened when we went into lockdown in 2022. And sure enough, Pluto was conjuncted by Mars. The difference here is that Venus was not at play. It was Jupiter. But they are similar, the benefics, and they have kind of very positive aspects, but what they do is very different. Jupiter expands things, grows things. Venus brings things together and makes things feel good, and Jupiter can too, but through expansion versus bringing together. And so let's go back to 2020, and that the lockdown happened in different times and different places, but within a week's range. And so when I took a look, the chart that I pulled up is for March 22nd, 2022. I'm sorry, all these twos, by the way, today it's 2/22/2022. So powerful day to build things if you're looking at this today. But going back, so it was March 22nd, 2020. And the reason I pulled this up specifically is because this was one of the days that in different places lockdown was occurring, but Pluto was conjunct exactly at 24 degrees with a few minutes off on that day. And then Jupiter was not exact, it was at 23 degrees, so very close. So it's 24 degrees in Capricorn, the two conjunction, and then 23. And so I wanted to take a look at the Sabian symbols, if you're familiar with that. That's a system that someone actually sat down and intuited on each degree of the zodiac and channeled phrases, sayings, images. And I like them. I think they speak a lot. If you like put them into a story, you kind of get a feel for what was going on. And so with the lockdown, I looked at that conjunction and the degree. And then I also looked at Neptune. And the reason I did that is because Neptune's been calling me. And Neptune was at 18 degrees of Pisces at that time. And now, during the new moon, it's only going to be a few degrees later. So it's not making, in both charts, it's not making an exact degree, but it's the energy's kind of like hanging around, feeling it. And so we're going to go back to 2020 first. What was that story? Well, we all know what happened, right? Each of us, it was a little different in different places, some more intense than others. But I feel like, so this new moon is going to be almost like a closing of a book. Now, it doesn't mean that it's all over by any means, but the story, the things that have come out are going to be finally, I think, some resolution and then movement forward past what was begun at the lockdown. And so moving to the Sabian symbols. So where Pluto was at the lockdown was at 24 degrees of Capricorn. The Sabian symbols message was, a woman enters a convent. Well, that sounds a lot like what we did. We went into lockdown. We were in solitude, in reflection. I mean, it was time for people to connect to source and potentially more spiritual things, because there was isolation, just like a convent, right? And I mean, also restriction, like the convent, you're not hanging out with people and partying, you are reflecting. And pardon the pause going by, we have an ice storm today. But so there's this going in, right? This deep sense of being, I mean, you can feel highly connected to source, but also isolated at the same time. It depends on how you reflect on that. We went in, right? And then I looked at the Neptune on the lockdown of that day, or I should say the 22nd, and it was 18 degrees. And this message was that of the Sabian symbol was, in a gigantic tent, villagers witness a spectacular importance. And so it's interesting, we went inside like a tent, and many of us were watching this on TV, watching the news incessantly, and unfortunately it was spectacular. Spectacular doesn't have to be always a good thing. It's a spectacle, And we haven't had anything like this for quite a long time, since 1918, at least in America, that is. And the whole world just had to kind of go in and watch, right? So more of that inner reflecting inward. Now, and we all know what has happened, like I said, these last few years. Now fast forward to this new moon. And once again, Mars has gone all the way around and is now back to Pluto. Pluto's not at the same degree, but it's not much further than where it was. It's a new degree, so I wanted to see, what's that Sabian symbol? What's the new thing? Where is that kind of head-to-head action and digging up coming, right? And so that degree was, like I said, it is the 27th degree. And so the message was a pilgrim climbing the slope leading to a mountain shrine. And it's a steep slope too. So think of that, like effort. Look at the mountain goat, it's in Capricorn. We're now coming out. We were in, right? We were in for 2 years, and obviously people have gotten to come out, but like, think how many times we went back in and out and in and out. And now there are new heights to be achieved. So one theme of the new moon, it's time to go out and to reach for higher heights. And it can be spiritual heights, maybe a greater love. It's Pisces season. I'm going to talk about the symbol for the Pisces, where the moon and the sun is going to be on the new moon as well. But so that's where that large conjunction of Pluto, Mars, and Venus are going to be on the same day. And there's another story underneath that. But so that's a focus, though. I think that's a setting tone for we're moving up, we're moving out, and we are going to see something. And it may be mystical, it may be magical, it may be just something of importance. But we are making a dedication and effort. Capricorn, right? Willing to do the work to get to see what we need to see. But then I wanted to look at the Neptune again. We looked at the other one. What is that larger message, that higher connection message? And it was a prophet carrying tablets of the new law is walking down the slopes of Mount Zion. So it's interesting because we have this action of the first, story, climbing up to see something potentially mystical, a shrine, right? A devotion. And then the Neptune is saying, I've seen it and I'm bringing it down. And what are we going to do with it? Who knows? Sharing? I don't know. Just being inspired. That's really powerful, because then we bring in, we're going to merge in the sun and the moon to the story. So going to reach for a higher source message, bringing it back down, and it is creating a new law, which is very fascinating. So Neptune is not making an exact sextile to that large conjunction in Capricorn, but it's close. And so again, new law, like what's happening there in Capricorn is new law being formed, getting rid of the toxic stuff, getting rid of the old stuff, the stuff that just doesn't work, and it doesn't work for everybody. This is a new story. It's got to be something universal. It's going to be for everyone and everything. It does not just people, the larger picture. And so with the degree of the moon and the sun, they're going to be at 12 degrees on the new moon. And that Sabian symbol was an examination of initiates in the sanctuary of an occult brotherhood. And so a little bit more kind of like of a mystic feel to it, but judgment, right? Examination, what's going on here? And there's a sense of also tradition, a brotherhood is usually something created. So that's where the sun is focusing in. There's, again, this need to examine these old structures, right? And these old, like, literally brotherhoods, potentially, creating what needs to happen here. And notice it's tied into a more mystical, spiritual thing, potentially. And so maybe we're also going to be reviewing in this new moon how we connect to source, and maybe, I don't want to say religions, but it could be, how are they working for us right now? Are there laws that have come down still working for us and the greater collective? Are they really, in the end, I feel like spirituality and most religions want universal love and coming from a place of compassion and just knowing that we're all one, and like, let's treat each other that way. Like, what I do to myself, I do to you. What I do to you, you do to me. And so there's an examination going on here. So I feel like this is a great time to, get down, and I don't want to say get down and get dirty, but like, get ready to go and find those messages of higher source and bring back the love and the new structures and maybe rules that can get us there, right? How can we make this a better place? And how can we make it so it serves, like I said, source and everything in it, not just humans, but the whole energy field. And so I think it's really powerful, even though there's a lot of Pisces energy happening this moon. I feel like there's somewhat of a seriousness. There's also this great expansion. And so it's going to be a great day if you want to be creating art or dancing or poetry or meditating. It is wonderful, like, because there is I feel like a direct line with that sun and the moon, and Jupiter's in there, and then it's conjunct that, so it's expanding that, like, I want to say not the depths, but expanding out and up, right? Just bringing it all in. And then that Neptune is also just reminding us as well, like, there's a dream out there, and let's bring it together and make it into reality. The other note that I wanted to say about comparing these two charts with the lockdown and then with this new moon is that at the time of the lockdown, the North Node was in Cancer, right? And what does that mean? We were all going towards Cancerian things, which was home, mothering, being inward, right? And I think we learned a lot about that in the lockdown. There was a shift during the lockdown of the nodes, but that was how it started off. And now in this new theme, this new story, the North Node is in Taurus. So a lot of this energy of restructuring, especially authority and what we need to do to move forward, and also the dream, I think, honestly, is about the earth and material and value. How do you value yourself? How do you value the things that you have? How do you treat the things you have? Do you see yourself as rich, poor, abundance? What is that to you? And I think that's really playing into it. And it's something we're looking at, and it's going to be a new theme. And how we take care of this planet and ourselves and value is going to be something new and inspired, but there's going to be some work behind it. The other thing I just wanted to say, because this is the other energy, I mean, it's I've already talked about it as like the Sabian symbols, but this is like a story that I'm seeing and have seen with that conjunction in Capricorn. And so if we go back into December, if you remember, Venus went over Pluto, and then it went retrograde back, and it went back, and it went back, and it was feeling maybe a little restricted and learning like what it needed to cut out of so that it could build things up. And I didn't like it necessarily. And the story could be of Persephone going into the underworld, I can say with Hades. And I actually saw some real life stories which were shockingly accurate to the tale, which I was quite, I was like, wow, astrology can really work here. But not to go into that, but what we saw is, Persephone going in, right? And kind of, I'm not being held captive because she doesn't, Venus doesn't really want to stay in Capricorn that long. It's not that warm. It's not that fuzzy. And it's like, yeah, you got to sit here and do work. It's like, you are not just lopping around. You're not laying around here. You need to be doing some work. You need to have some structure, some discipline. And it was like, But by going back, by having that retrograde, I saw this as that Venus, that, yin, feminine energy, like learning some strength by it, like learning to go, okay, I can, restrict myself to one piece of cake instead of having a whole cake, right? Because, it likes to indulge. Venus likes to have that comfort, and, learning that, like, maybe not, people don't always have to get along, and you don't always have to bring people together. Like, maybe things need to be cut out that way, especially when it comes to authority. So it was learning a new sense of desire. And then it went forward, and Mars entered, and then eventually Mars, passed Venus. And so at this conjunction, right, we have Pluto at first, and then we have Mars, and then we have Venus, all 27 degrees, different minutes. And so I see that Mars, didn't get to spend that much time in there, right? It's just kind of burning through, where Venus has been going back and forth and back and forth. Well, not back and forth once, but anyway, I see this as two ways, right? There's always, I feel like, at least two ways to see a story. I see Mars as, Aries charging through, and it's going, I'm going to get you out, Venus. It took over. It's like, I can take you out of here, and I'm going to, beat Hades. And so when this conjunction happens, I could see, a fight, right? Like, I'm going to save this planet. It needs to get out of here. It doesn't like it. And I'm super strong, and I'm comfortable here. And Pluto may go, well, what are you going to give up? What are you going to give up to get out of here? And what are you going to give up to like take Persephone, you know, whom I've captured and kept here for a while. And so there may be something you have to let go of to get past Pluto, but it could feel like a little bit of a struggle, especially because this aspect is, we're kind of channeling that dream that we were talking about at the new moon, and that dream is being told like, we're still going to be cutting something out of restructuring here. What are you going to let go of before you pass me? Is this going to be a fight, or are you going to let go what needs to be let go of, right? Because Pluto is only bringing up things that are not good, right? That are, I should say, not good, that are not beneficial for your being, for growth, for positive growth. So, but what I felt, you know, like it could be a fight, or it could just be like a more of a sobering responsibility. Like, all right, I know what I need to do, eliminate this, and I'm moving forward. And thanks for the information, Pluto. Message received. I have got to get rid of that. It's not good for me. Meanwhile, though, you know, I feel like Venus is no victim here. I think this stay in Capricorn is actually empowered Venus to go, okay, I now know that structure's okay and that not everything has to be held together by fuzzy feelings. And sometimes you got to put your, you know, foot on the ground and move forward and do some hard work. And I kind of like that. And I don't need to be saved. And after the new moon, you know, shortly thereafter, a week or so, week and a half, Venus will, you know, go over Pluto, but then it goes over Mars, and it's like, oh, guess what? You weren't saving me. I was just taking my time and assessing things and maybe even enjoying the landscape as much as I could. You didn't save me. I found my power and I'm moving forward. So I feel like there's a sense of empowerment here. So with that message, though, with this new moon, that restructuring of authority, take responsibility for where you need to be responsible. Eliminate what no longer serves you and rebuild. You can use that channeling of Pisces and the bigger vision. It's going to help you, right? And that Taurus of energy of your value. There's a new sense of value, and find out where your value is. It doesn't have to always come from money. It can be from friendships. It can be from your gifts. It can be from so many things. And so it's a really powerful, powerful new moon, and my hope is that it goes to the higher vibration and doesn't go to a more bickery, fighty, you know, as I said, like there could be a fight for sure, because when Pluto and Mars get together, you know, it could be a fight. That's all I have to say. They're very intense energies and they have their own power to them. And the thing is Pluto has the staying power here. Pluto is definitely going to keep its foot down, and it's going to say to Mars, like, yeah, you might get one punch, but I got off like 5 in your face and you're down on the ground. I mean, you're going to move forward, but you're going to feel this a little bit more. So really allowing yourself, like whatever Pluto's asking you to let go of, let it go. And then the passing will be smooth is how I feel about this. And then Venus is just going to go through and go like, okay, you know, I've learned my lesson, Pluto. We've talked. And maybe whatever did come up in that retrograde for you with Venus, it'll be kind of like a final visit. It'd be like, all right, I learned this and I let it go. And it's okay, right? Like, I think Venus is pretty confident in it now because it's had so much time in Capricorn. And really, that's the new moon. I think it's dynamic, and I see, like I said, a closing of a story of 2 years. Again, the pandemic's not over, but think of the things that have happened in the 2 years. Authority structures have been questioned because they do not serve the majority of the people, and it held people back, and it has hurt people, and it has not been in a higher love. And I think we know what I'm talking about. There's so many different things, and we are now being called to seek the higher love. Let's recreate these structures that are harming people and the planet and the animals and the cosmic energy. Let's redo this. We have that grounding energy and we have the vision. We can do this together. With that, I'm Jennifer at Eureka Astrology and Healing. If you like what I'm doing, hit the like button, subscribe, write messages down below. Like, how are your experiences? I mean, I've been feeling it, and I think we're going to feel it every day as we creep up. And so be inspired, be compassionate, be grounded, and be ready for some real change. Ciao for now.